Wading into War, Chapter 7. I stood and leaned in close to whisper and caught a whiff of her skin and hair. Any other time, it would have been a nice distraction. "I'll get behind the door." She nodded. The edge of her mouth twitched. I got in position, readied myself, and nodded. "Who is it?" she said. A muffled voice said, "I have new information on your brother." Her brows furrowed. Suddenly, another bad taste formed in my mouth. She turned the knob and opened the door. Whoever it was kicked the door wide. It caught me on the forehead. If that was the intention, it had worked. I made a mental note to keep my hands up the next time this kind of thing happened. A man dressed in a dark suit stormed into the room. He grabbed Lillian by the wrist and wrung it behind her. She yelped, and her knees gave away. "Where is it?" he demanded, his voice an odd accent I couldn't place immediately. "It has to be here." I shook my head to clear the stars, then charged the guy. I'm not anywhere near linebacker size, but I plowed into him like he was a quarterback. I caught him off guard and sent him sprawling onto the floor. He released Lillian's wrist, and she scrambled away from the melee. My momentum carried me on top of the guy. I was in the process of getting up when he elbowed me in the ribs. The wind flew out of my lungs, and I rolled off of him, gasping for air. We had landed between the coffee table and the sofa, so he had to extricate himself. That was all the delay I needed. Still heaving from breath, I stood and held up my fist. The man stood and turned to me. I recognized him. He was the shooter, the man who murdered Wendell Rosenblatt. He used the momentary pause to his advantage. He put up his fist and assumed a fighter's stance. With his leg, he moved the coffee table aside, giving him more room to maneuver. I grabbed the lamp from one of the end tables and hurled it at him. When he ducked, I moved in. I flew with my right, but he parried with his forearm. Good thing I was left-handed. My fist crashed into his jaw with a satisfying crunch. He uttered one word as he fell to the floor. "Scheisse." I blinked at the word. Breathing hard, I turned to Lillian. "You hear that?" She nodded. "He's German. Come on," I said, motioning to the door. "Let's get out of here." She raced around the slumped figure and grabbed her purse from the side table. Then, hand in hand, we ran to the elevator. The car arrived and we got in, plunging straight to the ground floor. We hurried through the polished marble lobby and out onto the gathering dusk. We ran up Texas Avenue to Travis. Dozens of parked cars angled along the curb. Mine was along the north side of the hotel. Seeing my Pontiac, I reached into my pocket to pull out the keys. Then a strange thing happened. Doors from 3 of the parked cars opened simultaneously, and out stepped a half-dozen men. All wore dark suits. Their builds told me they were well muscled. They weren't holding guns, but I realized they probably had them at the ready. They effectively had blocked us our way. We turned away and stopped. A man in an army uniform stood before us. On either side of him were 2 MPs, each with a hand resting on their guns. "Mr. Wade," the man said, his voice gruff, "you and I need to talk."